Hey, what is up, everybody? Really good day yesterday. Who would have thought that of all the 10 picks I gave you yesterday, Giannis and Devin Booker would be the people that would sell me? 7-3 on my picks yesterday that I told you guys at the end of yesterday's video. Yeah, the only people that didn't hit were Giannis and Booker, and Desmond Bane ended up having a pretty good game. He had 22, and his line was set at about 17. But other than that, everyone else hit. Mikal Bridges hit on his points. Chris Paul had 19 assists, almost hit his points and assists without any points. That Pelicans and Heat game ended up being a good one. Jimmy Butler hit his PRA. Like I suspected, John Morant just didn't have the court time to hit his PRA. I had a feeling he might get close to his points, but he didn't get his PRA. KCP fell short on his points. Dejounte had a pretty big first half, and then did not think scored another point in the second half, so he didn't hit. And DeAndre Ayton, you might have thought that if you were watching the game yesterday, he dominated. He dominated scoring. He did not get his 9.5 rebounds, as I thought he wouldn't, and so he did. He hit as well. So we had a pretty successful day today. Let's get back at it today. Okay, lock of the day. Hear me out. We just bet on him the other day, and he didn't hit for us. I'm a little bit biased because I really like him as a player, but Dejounte Murray is going to be the lock of the day. Hear me out, okay? The Spurs have now traded Derek White, who was the off guard, to Dejounte Murray. Also, when Dejounte Murray wasn't on the floor, guess who was really primarily running the offense? It was Derek White. So Derek White is not on the team anymore. The guys that they just traded for, Josh Richardson, them boys, they aren't making their debut today. So Dejounte Murray is going to be running the entirety of the offense for literally the entirety of this game. And the Atlanta Hawks, we all know, have pretty bad perimeter defense. So in his 5 games this season without Derek White, Dejounte Murray's PRA, 41, that hits. 38, just a little bit short. 33, just a little bit short. Those gets 2 great defenses. Then he goes for 53. Then he goes for 52. In his last matchup against the Hawks earlier this season, he had 41 PRA. There's a reason why it's set up that high. It's because they know Dejounte Murray is going to have a pretty big night tonight without having any off guards really to help him run the offense. Anticipate Dejounte Murray to go over on his 40.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Let's lock it in. Our last 2 locks, or 3 actually, 2 of them missed by 0.5, and yesterday Giannis ended up selling the bag. So today we're hitting it with Dejounte Murray. Also, the tribe has spoken. A lot of you guys commented saying that you wanted the videos to be longer, with more in-depth stats, and more picks from every single game. So I guess that's probably how we're gonna do the format of these videos. If you missed that yesterday, you can still comment on today's video saying if you want them to be longer, or I do have a link in last video's description, and the link is going to be in this description too for a poll on my Instagram to vote how you want the videos to be. So go ahead and check that out. Not too many people checked out the Instagram poll, but you guys still did comment yesterday. All right, first game of the night. This is going to be one of those ones during this trade deadline time. Things are going to get a little complicated. And this is going to be one of those games I'm talking about. So Cavs face the Pacers, early 6 o'clock game. I want you guys to probably stay away from this game at all costs, mostly because Darius Garland isn't playing in this one. He's been ruled out. And we just don't know how the Pacers are going to play without Sabonis and with Halliburton at the 1 now. It's complicated. Let me just see how he plays first, right? Because we all know that Tyrese Halliburton's a pretty elite passer. He's good. He's not a bad player by any means. But we just got to see how he gels and he meshes with this Pacers team, because him being traded from Sacramento really got into his head. So let's kind of see how he plays in his first couple games here with the Pacers, and then we can kind of, go off of that. And Cavs, of course, are without Garland, and the Cavs get significantly worse when they don't have Garland. So this is probably a game I want you guys to stay away from. Only lines from this one I could really want you guys to mess with is Duarte is kind of coming to the number 1 scoring option for the Pacers. But again, Tyrese Halliburton could score himself, so that's why, again, I'm hesitant. But look for maybe Halliburton to get Duarte open looks sometimes. So his line is set at 14.5 since he's kind of taken over the number 1 scoring role. He's been up around that 20 points per game range. So look for Duarte to maybe hit that points line. And I guess a Cavs line that I kind of like in this one. Again, I kind of want you guys to stay away from them. I'm just kind of telling you some lines if you have to bet on these games. Lines that are kind of good. Jared Allen, he's set at 27.5 points and rebounds. He's probably going to have a pretty good game. Goga is back into the lineup tonight, so he'll be the starting 5 for the Pacers. But the Pacers without Sabonis on the floor have been a horrible rebounding team. Sabonis is one of the best rebounders in the NBA, so anticipate Jared Allen to probably have a pretty good rebounding night as well as scoring inside with losing that perimeter or that interior presence with Sabonis. Thunder 76ers. Just another one of these games where teams are on 2 opposite spectrums of the prestige and the top of their conferences and the bottom of their conferences. The most recent matchup was a 115-103 76ers win. Embiid only had 22, 9, and 6, not as impressive as he's been putting up. Curry had 28 and Shea had 29. Of course, Thunder don't have Shea right now. So things are a little bit complicated as far as that goes, as far as looking back at their history. When you look back at their history, though, because Joel Embiid has played the Thunder just a couple of times in his career, hasn't really put up that impressive stats because none of the games have ever been close. Most of these games, prior to that last game that they most recently had with Shea in it, have just been blowouts. They've been monster blowouts by the 76ers. I am actually blown away at the fact that they have Joel Embiid's PRI set at 51.5. I just simply don't think he's going to have the time to do that. This Thunder 76ers game won't be close, and I think putting him at 51.5 PR is just way too much. That has to be the underlock of the day by all means. With that being said, the only other line I kind of really like in this one, and I don't know if Giddey's on a minutes restriction again. I know he was last game. I know they put him in a 30-minute restriction. He ended up playing 28 minutes. I don't know if he's on a restriction again. If he is, probably disregard this. If he isn't, if he's playing like normal, then let's kind of lock this one in. Over 5.5 assists for Josh Giddey. He averages right around over that here on the entirety of the season. So I would anticipate Giddey to hit that line. But again, if he's on that minutes restriction again, let's forget about that one. Hornets Pistons. They did play of recent, and it was a 140-111 Charlotte's beat down, butt whooping.
What do you mean by that?
Anytime you see the Charlotte Hornets score that much points, without even looking at the box score, you have to know that Kelly Oubre went crazy. And he did. He had 32 points, 9 threes from Kelly Oubre in their most recent matchup. The things that I want to keep in mind for that game, LaMelo, basically all the starters for the Hornets only played around like 25 minutes per game, or only played 25 minutes that game. LaMelo had 12, and 8 with only limited minutes. Miles Bridges had 19 with limited minutes. Mason Plumlee ended up not having the best game. He only had 5 and 7 in that one. And Terry Rozier had 16. And a couple of the Pistons starters were not playing in that game. So Sadiq Bey was the only one really that's normally in the lineup. He played. He only had about 11. And Trey Lyles had, the backup center for the Detroit Pistons had 17 and 7. So keep that one in mind. With that being said, like I said, if Trey Lyles managed to get 17 and 7 last time versus the Hornets, I don't know if Montrezl Harrell's making his debut tonight. It's possibly could be, but I know a lot of guys that got traded, aside from Halliburton, aren't expected to make their debuts tonight. Like James Harden and stuff like that, they're not expected to make their debuts tonight. So, anticipating that Montrezl Harrell doesn't play, Isaiah Stewart should have a pretty good game. His rebound is set at 9.5. If Trey Lyles managed in a blowout to get 17 and 7. I have a feeling that Isaiah Stewart, who's been rebounding the glass very well, can have that and have just as much success versus this bad rebounding team for the Hornets. Like I say, every single time the Hornets play any sort of a talented center, we're probably going to go over on that guy's rebounds. So over on Isaiah Stewart's rebounds. And a Hornet line I'll give you guys in this one, I'll go under on Terry Rozier. They have him set at 19.5, which is kind of high, I think, for a points line to set Rozier at. He hasn't been able to hit that 20 points per game 20-point game mark in quite a while. The only time he just hit it a couple games versus Toronto, but he played 41 minutes in that game, so he's obviously not going to play 41 minutes again tonight versus Detroit. So I would anticipate Terry Rozier to not be able to hit 20 points. That line's just too high for me. All right, Celtics Nugs. Keeping in mind that last time, like I said, the Celtics have been playing really well. They're currently on a 6-game win streak, and they've been playing really well. They've been dominating most of their teams, both defensively and offensively. Both these teams almost have identical records. I think they're both sitting around right around like 34 and 20. Both of them are sitting right around that range. So two teams that are equally talented as far as records go. Jokic has had a field day in past days versus the Celtics. His most recent matchup, he had a 17-point, 10 rebound, 17-point, 10 rebound, 11 assist, triple double. So he stat stuff there. Then in his last two matchups prior to that, a 43-point game and a 30-point game. So Jokic has managed to have some pretty monster performances versus the Celtics. Not as much success for Jaylen Brown, interestingly enough, in these matchups in past history. Tatum has had his fair share of pretty high-scoring 28, 30-point games versus the Nuggets, but we'll get those lines now. As far as lines go, I'd have to think if you're going to take any from this game, it has to be Jokic over in his points. They have it set at, currently at this moment, They have it set at 24.5. And if history says anything, he's averaging 30 points per game in their last 3 matchups versus the Celtics. So he should be able to hit that line with ease. Not saying that Robert Williams, the Time Lord, isn't a great interior paint defender, because he is. But Jokic is just a different beast to try to handle. I mean, if you've watched Nikola Jokic play at all, I mean, he's not a traditional big by any means. So I don't think Robert Williams is going to be able to contain Jokic by any means. And then the only other one I'd really be interested in is Tatum over on his points. Instead of 27.5, he's averaging right around 28 points per game in some recent matchups versus the Nuggets. And like I said, the Celtics are playing really well right now. So I would anticipate Jason Tatum to keep that ball rolling and have a pretty good game tonight versus the Nuggets. This should be a good game in general tonight. Okay, back to Spurs Hawks. So this is what I'm kind of talking about when I'm talking about Derek White and this Dejounte Murray dilemma, i.e. Okay, for example, in their last matchup, it was a 124 to 106 Hawks win. Okay. Dejounte Murray played 33 minutes. He had 22 points, 11 assists, 8 rebounds, so a pretty good stat-stuffing night. Went 4 for 7 from 3, but took 20 shots, okay? Derek White, who played around 29 minutes, he took 12 shots, okay? So take that into account. And Bryn Forbes, a player that they no longer have, he's on the Nuggets now, he took 12 shots. Don't have those two guys anymore, okay? So Dejounte Murray took 20 shots in a game where he had those two guys taking over, or almost right around 30 shots, okay? So Dejounte Murray is going to take a whole lot of shots in this game. He's going to have, I'm telling you guys, I know I messed up last time. He fell kind of way short last game, but he's gonna hit this game. Also in that game, Jakob Poeltl had a pretty good performance. In only 29 minutes, he had 15 and 10, so he hit his line. I know the other day I said go over on Jakob Poeltl, he needed a hit. But Jakob Poeltl should be able to have a pretty good game tonight, according to how they matched up last time. Trey Young in that one did kind of steal the show, though. He had 31 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds, so he kind of did his thing Trey Young did last time. Looking at where they have Trey Young set right now, they have him set at, 28.5 points. He's averaging a little bit less than that on the season. Again, this is another game where, guys have been traded out of the starting lineup for the Spurs, so I don't know how they're going to play necessarily. I know that Dejounte Murray is going to take a lot of shots, but I don't know necessarily how they're going to perform. So I wouldn't anticipate Trey Young to be able to hit up into that range again unless the game stays close. If the game does stay close, though, that's good. We want the game to stay close for sure. But in that game, Clint Capella also played 32 minutes, had 11 points, and 13 rebounds, because we know we've been mocking Clint Capella lately because he hasn't been getting no minutes. But last game, when he did get minutes, did manage to get that double-double. Also, just one more thing I wanted to throw at you guys, too, because if you needed any more information to back up that Dejounte Murray should have a pretty good night, we all know that the Hawks have pretty bad perimeter defense. The recent success goes on and on for teams that have had, opponents that have had massive scoring nights as far as guards go versus the Hawks. So I'm anticipating all of the arrows point to Dejounte Murray having a pretty good night. Next up, we got Bulls versus the Timberwolves. Not a whole lot of historical significance for this game. Obviously, teams that are in opposite conferences, so they only play twice a year, and they played 2 times last year. It's not worth looking at because of how different the Bulls were a year ago. So not going to get into a whole lot as far as history between these two goes. A very big thing to note, the sportsbook have this game over-under set at about 240 this morning. So in a perfect world, they're anticipating this game to be like 120 to 123. Man, nuke DeMar DeRozan's over. And nuke, right now, D'Angelo Russell's is set at right around, or he's questionable. So they don't have any lines out for him right now, as well as Anthony Edwards. But you have to think both those guards, if not one of them, both of them is going to have a pretty monster game tonight. Again, the Bulls have really bad perimeter defense. They've been allowing so much points as far as guards go in recent history. So I would anticipate D'Angelo Russell will probably have a pretty good game tonight too. I'll put it here if they end up putting a line out before I get this video edited and put out. But DeMar DeRozan should also have a pretty monster game tonight as far as the lines in these ones for sure. And the last game of the night, not too late, but an 8 o'clock game, is going to be Orlando Magic versus the Utah Jazz. In their earlier matchup this season, actually the Magic came away with a 107 to 100 win. And they managed to beat the Jazz with Rudy Gobert and with Donovan Mitchell. Rudy Gobert had 21 and 15. Donovan had 21. They didn't have Mike Conley that game, though, so that might have had a little bit of an impact. But that was a Cole Anthony show. Played 32 minutes at 33 points. Wendell Carter had himself a game as well against Rudy Gobert. He had managed to get 22 and 15. I couldn't have predicted that. He had a pretty monster game. Franz Wagner had a quieter one. But as history shows, I mean, in that last prior matchup, even with their two best players, just missing Michael Conley, this game was managed to stay pretty competitive. That has kind of been the story of the Magic this year. Obviously not a very good team, but they keep games pretty competitive against most of their teams. They don't get blown out too many times. So I would anticipate maybe this game to stay a little bit close. There's always a chance, of course, that the Jazz can just blow it away, but they don't have Rudy Gobert. They will have Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell tonight, so that could deter things just a little bit. Only lines out currently that I like. If Wendell Carter was able to get 15 rebounds against Rudy Gobert, why can he not do that against Hassan Whiteside? They have his line set at rate about 9.5, so they'd want him to get 10 boards right now. That's a line I could go for, 10 rebounds for Wendell Carter. And the Magic have really bad defense overall, interior on the perimeter. I'd anticipate Donovan Mitchell. I know that he just played last night versus Golden State, 2 nights ago versus Golden State. He only had 14 points in that one. I wouldn't anticipate that to happen again. He's probably gonna hit that 23.5 points line for Donovan Mitchell. All right, since we're to the end of the video, you know what time it is. My top 5 favorite over picks of the day, and my top 5 under picks or stay away picks for the day. Let's get it. Coming in at number 1 has to be my lock of the day, Dejounte Murray. Over 40.5 points, rebounds, assists. I tried to give you guys as much information I could to show you guys that he's gonna hit this tonight. Anticipate Dejounte Murray to hit. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Demar Derozan's points. If that sportsbook's got him set at 240, that's just a lot of points. They're anticipating a lot of points to be scored. So they don't have currently a Demar Derozan points line out, but if they do, I'll put it here before I finish editing. If they do before the end of the day, and this video has been way posted by then, gotta go over on Demar Derozan's points. He's going to have a field day today, most likely. At number 3 is going to be Isaiah Stewart's rebounds versus Charlotte Hornets. We all know how the Charlotte Hornets do against good rebounding bigs. I don't need to do an explanation there. Jakob Poeltl over 8.5 rebounds. Again, I know he sold us the other day. When you're sports betting, you gotta reset. You know, you can't have players that you don't bet on, players you do bet on all the time, because anything can happen on any given night, really. So you can't, every single day when you see new lines and somebody sold you the other day, you have to empty that out, because anything can happen in sports betting. Some people just have bad nights, some people just have good nights. So over on Jakob Poeltl's rebounds against the Atlanta Hawks at 8.5 rebounds. And at number 5, we're going to get Jokic's points. They were set at 24.5. They've been kind of picking it on the board, off the board. But Jokic should have a pretty good night tonight against the Celtics. One quick honorable mention, Jakob Poeltl was top 5 in the league in blocks last year. He's had 3 blocks the last 2 games. Atlanta does like to take it inside the paint with Trey Young and John Collins, as well as Clint Capella on dump-offs. Anticipate Jakob Poeltl's, this is a sleeper line for me, 1.5 blocks over. And my top 5 picks to go under, on, or stay away from. At number 1, my under lock of the day has got to be Joel Embiid's 51.5 points. Or points, rebounds, assists. Way too much. This game is not going to have enough time for him to do that. Don't be worried if in the first half he goes for like 22, 10, and 3. He's not going to do that in the second half. Anticipate the score to be like 63 to 47 in the first half. And Joel Embiid might have a monster first half, but he's got a long way to go at 51.5. Next up, Terry Rozier's 19.5 points. They've got basically every single Hornet set at 19.5 points. One of them is not going to hit, and I'm going to anticipate that to be Terry Rozier. So stay under on Terry Rozier's 19.5 points. Will Barton, I know he's had a couple of good games in a row here. He's set at 15.5 points, but they are playing one of the best defenses in the league in the Celtics. He's going to primarily be matched up against probably Marcus Smart. So I would anticipate Will Barton to not be able to hit that 15.5 points line. We went under on him the other night, so we're going to do it again tonight versus the 76ers. Darius Bazley, under on his points, rebounds, and assists. I would anticipate him to not have much of a dominant presence versus Joel Embiid. I wouldn't be surprised either if Joel Embiid kind of gets him in some foul trouble early. So I would anticipate Darius Bazley to go under on his points, rebounds, and assists. And our number 5 under stay away pick of the day is going to be coming from Hawks and Spurs. Stay away or go under on Kevin Huerter. Really, we anticipated him to have, I anticipated him to have a much bigger role this year in the Hawks, and he just hasn't. DeAndre Hunter has kind of filled that off-guard scoring role, and taking the majority of the shots, scoring a lot of those second chance points for the Hawks, or off guard points for the Hawks. So go under on his points, rebounds, and assists. Not really that great of a playmaker and doesn't really get that many rebounds unless some just roll to him. So under on PRA for Kevin Huerter. With that being said, guys, we had a really successful day yesterday. Have not hit on my lock of the day the last couple of days. So let's get this Dejounte Murray, please. I'm putting my reputation on. Let's get this money today, guys. Peace.